The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello and welcome to Fearless Fabulous You. I am your host, Melanie Young, and I love talking to women like you about taking charge of their health and their life to live on their terms with confidence and clarity. We're going to talk today about a topic that is in the news, very close to my heart, having a food and beverage background, and should be very close to yours because it involves you and your family's health. We're going to talk about food safety. We all know that a plant-forward diet of fresh vegetables, fruits, and fiber is important to your health and nutrition. So it's frustrating to you and to me to learn that the foods that you're supposed to be eating right now, many of them are being recalled because they're unsafe. We all have seen the news about cyclosporosis and salmonella and other foodborne illnesses that are making us sick. And it makes me sick to realize that we are now living in fear of our food and our most nutritious food. So today's show is going to specifically talk about what is a foodborne illness, what are examples of them, how are they transmitted, and how you can protect you and your family by better food handling, food shopping, food storage, and food preparation. I will also give you some helpful advice and resources to do your research. I am not a scientist. I did study nutrition and holistic health, but what I am is an avid research person and writer and journalist who does her best to find sources and reliable sources, not just on the internet, but sources I consider important to get the best information. And those for me in this episode and always are the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I'll refer to it as the CDC, the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Environmental Working Group. I will provide the resources for those at the end, but I use them all the time to do my research and to stay up on the latest news. And here's interesting, you can actually subscribe to their newsletters even as a consumer. You don't have to be a doctor, scientist, or a nutrition specialist. They all actually have a lot of free advice for consumers to live their best health. What I don't rely on is just basic news, the internet, and Facebook groups who offer with people offering advice on stuff that, advice on how home care how-tos. I do believe in trusting my doctor, my PCP, and if there is something wrong, I talk to my doctor. I don't just throw it out on the internet. So the information I have gathered for you in this show is based on doing my due diligence and research with these reliable sources, which I am now condensing and relaying to you. First of all, let's don't live in fear. While the American food supply is among the safest in the world, so just remember that, it's still among the safest in the world. However, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, estimates that 48 million Americans do experience a foodborne illness each year. That's roughly 1 in 6 people. This results in about 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths. And we see, it seems like every week there's news. I was out with my husband, David, and some friends at an event, and 2 of us out of the 4 of us got food poisoning or became ill. Now, it could have been the extreme heat combined with alcohol, not great. But I also noticed where we were at this event that the food was sitting out unchilled in a warm, excruciatingly hot setting. And all I could think about is just, the food just didn't look like it was good for you anymore. You've been sitting out for too long. And then we had oysters and they were warm. And I'm like, I'm not going to have the oyster. So you got to really be conscious about how food is being served to you as well as how you're preparing it, because that's a big part of the process. So this is kind of interesting. I went on the Food and Drug Administration because it's been in the news, and we'll talk about at the end about some latest news. This is the month of August 2026. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, is investigating 11 active foodborne illnesses. Foodborne means it's transmitted from product to person, product to process. It's foodborne, which means it's transmittable. Okay, so 11 active foodborne illnesses is about a higher than usual number. A lot of this is attributed to improved detection methods and a more interconnected food supply. So that's good, but that's bad that we have so many. So we have been reading about the 2 Cyclospora outbreaks linked to iceberg lettuce, attributed to one supplier who gets their Taylor Farms gets their iceberg lettuce from Mexico. So it's not like all the iceberg lettuce in the United States is impacted, but it has impacted sales of iceberg lettuce. Have you been to the grocery store lately? And boy, all my friends who own salad bars and salad businesses are really experiencing some decrease in sales because nobody wants to eat a salad. So just remember, know the source of and really trace the source of where it's coming from and be a better shopper. This is still an ongoing outbreak, and the other one is salmonella, listeria, which is a very deadly foodborne illness. Often some products linked to it are frozen blueberries, powdered infant formula, eggs, and soft cheeses. Wow. Well, again, if you have any doubt, check the Food and Drug Administration and the the CDC. There are other ones as well, but just know that with hotter weather and maybe less checks and balances as people are dealing with shortages in employees, there may be fewer people checking things. So you need to be an informed consumer. I truly believe, and this is just the Melanie theory, with the climate heating up, we are not prepared with information on how to properly adjust our own lifestyles. You can't leave food out as long. You must store it quickly. The climate is heating up, and we need to address how we're handling our food supply as part of it. So here's some interesting foodborne illness statistics in the United States. So this is the Department of Health and Human Services. They're caused by biological microorganisms, and there's mainly 3 or 4 primary categories that can create food poisoning or infections. The norovirus, you may have heard of, it accounts for about 5.4 million cases. So the norovirus is the single leading cause of foodborne illness. That's the CDC. Salmonella, which is also found, you hear it most likely in eggs, but it can be other products, is another, causes about 1 million illnesses. There's staph illnesses and other kinds of bacteria. So and then listeria, which we've heard of outbreaks, which is one of the most deadly. In fact, listeria is the 3rd leading cause of death from foodborne illnesses, despite it being not as high as, let's say, salmonella or norovirus. Okay, where is all this coming from, and why does it seem to be in the news all the time? So this is interesting and kind of depressing. According to data from the CDC, foodborne illness source estimates, plant-based produce are responsible for 46% of all food poisoning. Now, I would have thought it was like raw, unprepared chicken or poorly cooked meats, blah, blah, blah. But apparently the vegetables we're supposed to be eating to stay healthy are the ones that are most likely to make us sick because we're not handling them properly or cooking them properly, which is what we're going to talk about. So what do we talk about? Leafy vegetables, root vegetables, sprout vegetables, vine stalk vegetables, nuts, fungi, mushrooms. 46% of illnesses are linked to leafy vegetables causing norovirus. Okay, so why is everything getting contaminated? Let's talk about that, because this is what I do. I like to dig deep and peel away the layers. So what's making us sick? Why does it seem to be in the news more? And what can we do to be better about handling our food and protecting ourselves? The main sources of contamination in food are: 1, infected food workers. People go to work and they're not well, or they haven't properly they don't have proper hygiene. We're all afraid of losing our jobs. So have you ever gone to work and been sick and not worn a mask or said, I'll be okay, and shaken hands? Yeah, you. We've all done it. It's not good. If you're sick, stay home. And if you're an employer, be sensible and sensitive to that. You don't want an employee coming to work and infecting your other employees, or God forbid, the food they're handling. This could be restaurants and catering facilities or other areas that handle food. But sick employees in restaurants and catering facilities who handle raw greens without proper hygiene are potentially transmitting a foodborne illness, and that's very common. Contaminated water, dirty runoff, or polluted water used for washing crops and irrigation spreads germs and viruses. We can't control that, but companies who run these agricultural companies need to really be on top of this. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are cutting corners for a variety of reasons, and it impacts us with things like the water supply hasn't been watched carefully. This is also a civic thing. I know here in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I live, we have a weekly boiled water alert. What's that all about? I'm still trying to figure it out, but I will never drink tap water in New Orleans unless I know it has been gone through a purification process. And we have a water purifier here at home. I don't like to spend money on expensive bottled water, but I make sure that we have purified tap water at home at all times. Ditto when I travel, because I have gotten sick from water when I travel. Just either spend the money on the bottled water or know where the source of your water is from and ask if it's purified. Raw consumption, leafy greens eaten fresh with minimal intervention, i.e., you're not washing your vegetables correctly, and you're handling them and you're not washing your hands. Okay. So first of all, if you eat food and get sick, go to the doctor. Okay. Most people infected with, let's say, cyclosporiosis develop diarrhea with frequent bowel movements. Other common symptoms: loss of appetite, weight loss, stomach cramps, pain, bloating, increased gas, nausea, fatigue, vomiting, and being disoriented. If these complications last even 24, the more severe, go to the emergency room, go to your walk-in clinic and get treated, because you do not want them to get worse. Don't just say, oh, I'll just take something and it'll be okay. It may not be okay. When in doubt, go get it checked out. Okay. When in doubt, get it checked out. But there's something that you should do. I always go see my primary care physician and all my doctors in the month of August. This show is first broadcast in the month of August. By the way, September is Food Safety Month. I always sit down with my primary care physician and I ask, and you can do this with a pharmacist as well, what are the key over-the-counter medications I should have for headache, nausea, gas, constipation, diarrhea, the works, so that I have something over the counter. And I know I have been told go with, and this is not a brand, but go with Tylenol or acetaminophen versus ibuprofen because of bruising. So make sure you discuss what medications you are on, any potential interactions, and have a stocked medicine chest just to deal with emergencies, and also have a stocked travel kit medicine packet as well. So that you can deal with common issues, particularly tied to travel or food or going out, which is gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, headaches, and potentially nausea. But as I said, when in doubt, get it checked out. Seek medical attention. You do not want it to get worse. And also dehydration is a factor. So stay hydrated. Water, hydrated. Okay. What can you do to stay healthy? Well, this is seriously what the meat of the matter is for this show. Okay. So I'm just pulling out my notes, and we're going to start with food shopping. Now, a lot of this, I did the research for my book. Here's my plug: Getting Things Off My Chest, A Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer. Was written for women who are newly diagnosed with breast cancer and undergoing treatment. But it could be this one section I wrote on health and nutrition and food handling, and food safety could be for anybody. So some of this is through my research in the book, and also further research, because it means a lot. And this is like a very important way you can reduce the risk in your home. So first of all, food shopping. First of all, before I even start with that, stay on top of the latest news and product recalls before you go shopping so you know what you're not going to spend your money on and instead what you're going to spend it on instead. And as I said, the Food and Drug Administration has a good source. Environmental Working Group has a very good source. So then know the source of your food. I like to buy local whenever I can. I do believe that the longer it travels, the more risk it can get for contamination. Because as I was saying to my engineer before the show, the food may be very healthy in the country it originated in. However, once it gets packed, packaged, trucked, shipped, unloaded off the boat or wherever it's coming or the plane, and then transported across the United States to where I live in Louisiana, who knows what it's gone through and what temperatures it's been in because you can't control that. So I try to, whenever possible, buy local fruits and vegetables. I love to support my local farmers. I pay a little bit more, but they also are trying to earn a living, and I get it. It's hard to be a farmer, so I feel like it's my good deed as well. Most fruits and vegetables have to have the origin stamped on them. And if you don't want to buy anything from that country because you don't know, it's okay. It doesn't mean all countries have contaminated food. I've had some amazing produce from Mexico. Love their avocados. I've had amazing produce from Chile and Ecuador. So it's not the country. It's potentially an isolated situation from a farm where something is grown. Another way to do it, if you have the money, is to join a local community support agriculture farm share. The benefit is you're supporting farmers, you're getting their fresh vegetables, they ship it to you, or you go pick it up on a designated day and you have your vegetables for the week. The downside is you may only get carrots and beets. And if you don't like carrots and beets, that's what you got. Example, we go to the farmers market, the Crescent City Farmers Market here in New Orleans has a wonderful Sunday market. Dave and I go. It's our little Sunday ritual. We go, we take a walk in City Park. We buy our vegetables for the week. Sometimes we buy the bargain box, which is, maybe they're not the freshest vegetables. They've been, but they're still good. And it's $12 for the bargain box. So what did we get this week? A lot of okra and eggplant. I don't really like okra or eggplant. I call it eggplant, but we're learning to like it and learning to experiment, cook with it. So that's, we get what's in season. If you can shop in season, more power to you. I love tomatoes in season. I don't like them out of season. I don't like most vegetables and fruits out of season. They don't taste right. Okay. But here's a good thing. Flash frozen fruits and vegetables are amazing. And that's another option, particularly if you're really concerned about buying fresh fruits and vegetables. Flash frozen vegetables are usually picked at peak of ripeness and then flash frozen. This helps them retain their nutrients. They're also great in stir fries. We've been using frozen blueberries in our smoothies. I use them in soups, cold and hot. They're also less hassle. You don't have to do the peeling and the prep. You just pop them in the skillet, you pop them in the pan, and you cook. So frozen is good. And we always have plenty of I like frozen peas, frozen spinach. I love frozen fruits, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. We always have plenty of frozen vegetables and fruits on hand, particularly when we just need to throw something together and we don't have anything fresh, or maybe the farmer's market is not really available to us right, because it's off season. Okay, shopping. So when you're planning sometimes you plan your shopping and you pack in a lot of errands. So do your grocery shopping last, not first, so that you're like the less time your food is out in your car, particularly when it's hot. Consider having bring an insulated bag, but also have a cooler in your trunk, or not your trunk, your trunk or your back area if you have an SUV, an insulated cooler so you can put your perishables in there after you purchase them. Okay. But just consciously try to do your grocery shopping at the end of the day so that you're not leaving food in the car. Also, little tip, if you're a senior, I am, always find out what day is the discounts. I know Tuesday is my senior discount day at my local neighborhood supermarket. So I do a lot of grocery shopping on, yes, Tuesdays. Also, it's the same at your local drugstore. Always ask and see what day is senior day to get the best discounts. Little tip. Okay, you bring your food home. The first thing you want to do is unpack it and get it put away. Okay, don't leave it out on the counter. God forbid, don't leave it out in the car. Put it away. Okay, don't leave it out. Refrigerate perishable foods within 2 hours of purchase. Okay. All right, we've packed your food away. This is kind of important. And I'm going to talk about storage before I get into handling. I have a little section on storage. Where is it? Where is it? It's in here. It's in here. I'll get to it in a minute. But basically, you want to keep your vegetables in the vegetable bin, separate from other foods. Okay. Keep everything in their little areas. Keep the meats and chickens that maybe you're unthawing completely separate from your vegetables and fruits. Okay. That's really important. You don't want cross contamination, right? There is a potential for cross contamination, and you don't want that. Keep everything in sealed containers. Label them if you don't know what's inside. We keep a lot of containers. I don't know what the hell is inside half of them because they say cottage cheese on the outside. So it helps to get some gaffer tape or masking tape and put the tape on the container, and with a marker, note what's in it so you can remember, and also date when you put it in the refrigerator, because you don't want this stuff to just sit in the refrigerator for weeks. God knows we have containers that are like that. And David says they're okay, and I know they're not. Okay. Food washing and handling. Next category. Before handling your food, wash your hands in warm soapy water. Bingo. Avoid hand washing with alcohol-based hand sanitizer and perfumed soaps or liquid soaps, because that remains on your hands and you impart it on your food, and it's disgusting. I mean, I absolutely can't stand scented soaps. So there you have it. It's great to use hand sanitizer when you're going out, when you're shaking hands, when you're traveling, but it's not to wash your hands and then handle food. Clean and sanitize your sink, counters, cutting boards with hot soapy water before and after use. Pay attention to faucets, sink handles, refrigerator handles, and other frequently used appliances like oven knobs. I try to clean everything after using them because, it's like everything else. Handles get dirty, like your phone. Clean your phone, okay? Anything you're handling a lot with your hands, you're going to want to clean and disinfect. Wash fruits and vegetables thoroughly in cool running water, or let them soak if they're quite gritty and dirty, and then rinse thoroughly. Now, here's something that I learned, and I think this is interesting. The Food and Drug Administration actively recommends against using soaps, detergents, even produce washes on your fruits and vegetables. Even vinegar. They're not big on vinegar, although other sources say vinegar is okay, and baking soda. But basically, use cold water. The FDA says some of these cleansers may have ingredients that could make you potentially ill, like chemicals. So why would you wash your vegetables and fruits in a vegetable wash that contains chemicals? I can't even imagine why. And I'm also saving you money, because then you don't have to buy all these fancy vegetable washes. What I do like is a vegetable bag or net, so that you can put them like pretty little loose things, put it in the bag, and then run it over the under the sink into the cool water, so it's just not all spilling out under the sink. Because if you haven't properly washed your sink, you're basically dropping all those cleansed vegetables, fruits into a dirty sink. So make sure before you wash everything, clean your sink. Okay, clean your sink. Use a vegetable brush for grittier texture produce. I have notes here, such as potatoes, leeks, celery, carrots, squashes, to remove grit. God knows the one reason we don't buy leeks is because they're always gritty. Ditto unbagged spinach. We always go, oh, it's so gritty. What is gritty? So you're going to have to do some extra washing, okay? Peeling is an option, but a lot of skins have nutrients, so you're just peeling away the nutrients. So just be more diligent with your washing. Put some music on. You know how you go to they say sing happy birthday when you wash your hands. Well, sing happy birthday when you wash your vegetables. Remember that from COVID? Well, sing happy birthday while you wash your hands, and you probably wash your hands. We'll do that with your vegetables. Pre-washed bag greens are still worth rinsing, but avoid any cross-contamination with other vegetables that are not pre-washed. That's an FDA thing. So don't take your pre-washed vegetables that are in a bag and then start mixing them with the other vegetables, which maybe you haven't washed yet, okay? Because there could be cross-contamination. So just again, first start with a clean sink, clean counter, clean cutting board, clean hands, clean utensils before you go and wash everything, because otherwise you're just contaminating. Okay, I drove that point home, I hope. Now we're getting to proper food storing. This is the one I wanted to bring up when you're putting your food away. To avoid cross-contamination, which means you're just getting everything contaminated again, one thing affects another, keep raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs separate from all other foods in the refrigerator. That's why your refrigerator has compartments. Right. Vegetable bin, fruit bin, cheese bin, and then maybe have one shelf for all those proteins. Very important. Use separate cutting boards and plates for raw meat, poultry, and seafood. And thoroughly wash and sanitize those cutting boards, utensils, the counters, and the sink after handling them. But this is particularly big with raw meats and particularly chicken, which handling raw chicken have a lot of contaminants to raw eggs. So be diligent about that. The worst thing and the dumbest thing we can all do is, use the same cutting board after it's cutting meat, then use it for vegetables. Have designated cutting boards, for goodness sake. That's one way to do it. If so be it, avoid washing meat, chicken, turkey, and eggs in the sink, because that can spread bacteria. Just do it in consequential order. Maybe get your vegetables done first before you do the meats. Okay. Refrigerate, as I said before, perishable foods within 2 hours of purchasing them, and do not leave them out on the counter. Maybe even date when you put them in the refrigerator so you'll remember. Thaw frozen foods in a bowl of cold water. Why? Because it helps them thaw faster. Okay, that's the trick. It's also a trick with wine. If you want your wine to chill faster, put it in a ice bucket that has cold water in it. Don't just stick it in ice. So with frozen foods, cold water, cold ice water helps the foods thaw. But with wine, cold ice water helps the wine chill faster. Quick tip. Okay. Avoid thawing frozen foods on the kitchen counter, where bacteria can multiply as the food warms up to room temperature. Again, your kitchen counter needs to be immaculate. And not only that, because I remember when I went to my mother's kitchen when I moved in with her, and there was just like crumbs under little crevices on her counter. And it was like I had to scoop them out with a knife. Make sure all those little nooks and cranny crevices are clean too. Store perishable foods under safe temperature conditions. This is from the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture. You'll also find it in the CDC and FDA. Okay, hot foods. So invest in a food thermometer. Okay, it's a good investment. Store perishable foods this way. These are the recommendations from these sources. Hot foods at 60 degrees centigrade, 140 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Cold foods at 10 degrees centigrade or 50 degrees Fahrenheit or below. When you cook, have a food thermometer as well, so you know when you're properly heating your meat. You can find that. There's a lot of detail on that. You can find it at the USDA on heating your meat and vegetables, and your chicken, meat, duck, whatever you're making, so you're cooking them at the right temperature. Ditto your fish, although I do like lightly seared tuna. So just be aware that you run more risk with raw with your fish, but know your fishmonger. So you're buying the best quality fish possible. Refrigerate leftovers promptly and consume them within a few days. Now, God knows I get in the biggest fight with my husband about this. He's serving me rice that I swear is a month old. It's cooked. He says it's okay. I won't touch it. I am a big believer in throwing out leftovers after 3 days, 4 days. Period. That's me. Okay. Deep freezing will suspend microbial activity, but does not kill pathogens. So thawed foods should be treated as potentially contaminated and treated the same way. World Health Organization, Pan American Health is the source on that one. So just because it's frozen doesn't mean it should be handled any differently once it's thawed. Okay. Place leftovers in tightly sealed containers, and I said mark them. And after 3 days, 2 to 3 days, throw it out. In fact, when in doubt, throw it out. Now, David, my mother-in-law, a little bit of mold, cut a little bit of mold off. And, little moms in Europe, cut everything off. I get it. And if it's okay and you're not skeeved out by mold, you can cut it off and eat the cheese, moldy cheese. Some cheeses are supposed to be moldy. But if you are a senior citizen and you are autoimmune compromised, you are going through medical treatments that compromise your immune system or have drug interactions, you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or a child, use caution with every type of food you're eating, particularly when it's raw, has been stored for a long time, it has been thawed and refawed, and be aware of that because you are more susceptible to illnesses. It's so important. When I was going through cancer treatment, I was so careful about my food. And that's why I literally, when I wrote the third edition and updated my book, Getting Things Off My Chest, A Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer, I expanded my nutrition section even more to talk about food handling, dining out, avoid salad bars, avoid having food delivered to you, although it's convenient. Just make sure it's properly insulated. You've got to be very careful. And as I said, when in doubt, throw it out. Okay, food preparation, more food prep tips. Invest in a food thermometer to make sure food is properly cooked. Cooking in water at 100 degrees centigrade will kill most pathogens. So boiling is a good way to kill pathogens. Grilling, roasting, frying, steaming, making sure that the proper temperature is attained. Cooked foods, particularly poultry, meat, eggs, and seafood, cooked to a safe internal temperature. Here it is, at least 70 degrees centigrade or 158 degrees Fahrenheit throughout is safe. Frozen meat, fish, and poultry should be thoroughly thawed, fully thawed before cooking. Okay, so again, know your food temperatures. Maybe get a little chart or a little laminated card by your oven and have it available. You can get these easily online. So you're cooking your food to the proper temperatures. We've all been served undercooked food, and if you're smart, you send it back at a restaurant. If you're planning to eat outdoors, make sure food is properly chilled from the moment it leaves your house to where you're serving it, i.e. picnics, tailgates, and keep it chilled throughout. Have plenty of ice. Ice doesn't cost a lot of money. Have extra ice. Do not leave food out in the sun or heat, and after 2 hours, don't eat it. Okay, 2 hours is the max, and in extreme heat, like 1 hour. As I said, we were at an event. The food was left out. It was at a restaurant. We were in the VIP room. And I said, I am not touching this food. It doesn't look like it has been properly handled. It is not properly chilled. I'm not going there. And some people did get sick with my group. So, when you finish going to a picnic or a church gathering or whatever, if the food has been sitting out, probably throw it away. I know I hate food waste, but you don't want to bring it back, put it in the refrigerator, and it has already been contaminated. Okay. One way to deal with salad greens that are going bad, vegetables that are maybe a pest, is cook them. Make hot soup. As I said, boiling water, boiling the vegetables releases contaminants and gets rid of them, pathogens. So if you are dealing with items in your refrigerator that are going this way, don't throw them out. Cook with them. Soup, hot soups, great. Stir fries, anything that cooks them and keeps them, they still have their nutrients, but you don't want to waste them. So Be diligent about that. So again, some resources. The food safety newsletter, free with you can get it, sign up at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. The USDA has a really handy safe food handling and preparation program and service, and you can get helpful tips there. And I also suggest very good group, the Environmental Working Groups, Shopper's Guide to Pesticides and Produce. This is a great group. They also have handy lists about what sunscreens are better for you and skincare and other products. It is a nonprofit. You can donate from $50. They'll even send you samples. The EWG, Environmental Working Group, for food analyzes 4 factors when they create their annual list. It's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. It's updated every year, I think around February. It ranks based on abundance, diversity, intensity, and toxicity of pesticides in the crops. Updated and reviewed, peer-reviewed before it's released. So, interesting, this is the Dirty Dozen for this year. Top of the list, strawberries. Consistently number 1 are positive multiple residues, toxicity, and chemicals. Number 2, spinach, highest pesticide residue by weight of any produce. Number 3, and these are updated and change every year, kale, collard greens, and mustard greens can carry more than 20 different pesticides per sample. 4, grapes, thin skin makes them highly susceptible to absorption. 5, peaches, soft skin absorbs pesticide sprays easily. 6, pears, residue from fungicides and insecticides. Again, if you really don't want this, then shop organic and talk to your local farmer's market. Apples, heavily treated due to widespread pest and fungal disease pressure. Cherries, frequently test positive for multiple pesticide residues per sample. Blueberries, rising contamination rates have secured their place on the list. I mentioned that before, that FDA is now doing some looking into this. Blackberries, average of 4 different pesticides in a sample. Potatoes, and notable near misses, green beans and hot peppers. And we all know the jalapenos are having a problem right now with the FDA because of cyclosporiosis. So it doesn't mean don't buy the food. It means if you buy the food, be diligent in washing the food. But then you should be diligent in washing the food if it's organic as well. Okay. So that was the Dirty Dozen, and it tests for different types of pesticides and compounds and chemicals that are linked to things like cancer, obesity, thyroid disease, and high cholesterol, and our hormone disruptors. So use your best judgment. What they say is at the EWG is be particularly diligent when you're preparing food for children. Okay, because children, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, says children are especially susceptible to contaminants such as pesticides, even while in the womb. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, let's talk about something positive, the 2026 Clean 15. This is the updated list, which has the lowest pesticide residues, even when grown conventionally. Okay, conventionally means in like factory farm. Okay. In 2026, almost 60% of the Clean 15 samples detected had no detectable pesticide residues. So that's very reassuring. Top of the list, avocados. Nearly 98% of samples showed no detectable residue of pesticides due to their thick skin, which is peelable. So here's the thing. If you're worried about your food and fruits and vegetables, then get food you can peel and take the skin away, because then you may be losing some essential nutrients in the skin. You may feel safer in your mind. Sweet corn, minimal pesticide residues, choose organic or non-GMO, project verified. Pineapples, these are the Clean 15. Tough outer rind, again, a skin, prevents pesticide penetration. Onions, natural pest resistant, fewer chemical applications. Papayas. Some Hawaiian papayas made GMO. That is, I'm not anti-GMO. Sometimes you need them to have help the farmers, because the farmers are struggling with crops due to various climatic changes going on. But I eat a lot of pineapples when I'm in Hawaii, and I feel better and look better and feel better than ever. Love my Hawaiian pineapples. Frozen sweet peas, very low residue. Again, frozen. Asparagus, naturally pest resistant, requires very little pesticide treatment. So eat your asparagus, and you can always peel them because sometimes they taste better peeled. Cabbage, minimal pesticide due to natural structural resistance. Cauliflower, now added back on the list. It was off, it's on. As I said, the changes. Watermelon, here we go again. Another fruit with a thick rind. So rind protects the interior, the flesh. Mangoes, ditto. Thick peel protects the flesh from chemical absorption. Bananas, same. Carrots, a root crop. You peel it, and that helps a lot, getting rid of anything that's detectable. Mushrooms, even though they're being investigated and they are high transmitters of foodborne illness, mushrooms are right now on the Clean 15, but clean them properly. Clean them properly. And I like to buy from my local mushroom farmer. Kiwis, fuzzy skin provides a protective barrier. Okay, so thick outer skin vegetables and fruits tend to have natural protective barriers. So that's the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15, and you can find that at ewg.org. So that's another positive thing. So GRAS, what is GRAS? You may have heard about it, GRA. It was in the news. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, has updated rules on what foods can be considered GRAS, generally recognized as safe. And you can learn more about that. Right now it's in the news and somewhat positive because they're updating and making sure that our food system, the government is on top of our food system. That's good. There's pros and cons. The environmental working group said that this is a positive move. They issued a statement. Marion Nestle, who is the goddess, she's a Paulette Goddard scholar at NYU School of Food Studies and a great source. She has a wonderful newsletter called Food Politics. She said this was a good move, generally with the raw foods. It's like, but what took everybody so long to do this? The big question is, why are you now finally recognizing the importance of food safety in our system? Why wasn't it done earlier? Well, better late than never is what I say. The more we can do to be protectorates of our food system, the better. However, at the end of the day, an educated consumer is the best food safety you can do. Know what you're buying, know what is currently on the beware list, make informed decisions about what you're buying, learn how to handle, store and prepare your foods properly, and above all, enjoy them. We're not here to be afraid of food. We need food in our system. Food is our nourishment. We should never be afraid of eating fresh food. Now, ultra process, the government, the Health Department of Health and Human Services is going rampant against ultra process. And I do, even though I don't agree with everything the Department of Health and Human Services is doing right now, I do agree wholeheartedly that we Americans need to eat less ultra processed food. So, okay, what is an ultra processed food? It's usually in a package, and usually if you turn over the ingredients, it's like umpteen ingredients, most of which you can't pronounce because they're chemicals. So if you were buying something and spending money on, a box of something, and you turn it over and you can't even read half the ingredients, why are you buying it? Half those ingredients are meant to preserve the product, enhance the product, create flavors that may be non-existent or need more flavor enhancement. There's added sodium, there's added sugar. It's all those things that make the food look better and taste better. But at the end of the day, you're also spending more for that packaging. And usually there's less food in the package, I've noticed. Have you ever bought a bag of chips lately? Half the bag is empty. Where's the other rest of it? So instead, shop the aisles and buy fresh fruits and vegetables and learn how to prepare them better. Learn how to roast, air fry, boil, pan-sear, stir fry, whatever. You're just in a better situation. So if you're going to buy, don't try to save your money and not buy ultra processed foods, which, according to Science are not the best for you because they contain hormone disruptors. I'm not going to get into it, but bottom line, the healthiest eating is eating fresh or flash frozen and cook at home. I love to eat out, but I also know that many restaurants use a lot of salt in their food. I went out for lunch last week with my husband. I had to go home and take a nap. I was so wiped out by the food because we've been eating home a lot and having low sodium meals. So if you are dining out, and I didn't really address that, ask the server, ask what foods, look for foods that are fresh and maybe less intricate in terms of the preparation. Ask if there are any that have less salt. If you make an open table of resi, they'll say, do you have any dietary requirements? Yeah, low sodium. What would you recommend? Ask. And maybe, I hate to say this, maybe limit how much you dine out because you can't necessarily control your sodium. We're going to be doing that because Dave and I now, with high blood pressure, have to control our sodium. It breaks my heart not to dine out, but it also makes my heart feel better knowing I'm eating less sodium to make it healthier. So I'd rather have a healthy heart right now than a sick heart. And it would break my heart to lose someone I love because they had a heart attack because they had an unhealthy diet. Okay. So anyway, I'm wrapping this up. I hope it's been healthy for you. I hope it's been informative for you. I hope it makes you want to eat really good food and enjoy it as much as you can, but also be smart about buying it, storing it, serving it, and preparing it. I am Melanie Young. I will post some of these tips on my Facebook page, Fearless Fabulous Melanie Young. I invite you to follow me at Melanie Fabulous and share this show with anyone you think could benefit from it. I'd really appreciate it. As always, you have the choice in life on how you want to live. Always live on your terms and not by terms other people set for you. Your standards should be high standards because you're worth it. And always choose being fearless and fabulous. Thank you.